Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Today we are going to go through my climbing roses. I've been wanting to show you guys these roses. My little Serrano rooster is crowing now. One of them is crowing. Guys, shh. Everybody's so loud this morning. Anyways, so I want to walk you through my climbing roses and give you updates on them. Many of them were planted last year, and I planted one new one this year, and I want to give you guys an update on them all. So let's go ahead and get to the climbers. So right here is where I have my CL climber, Perfume Breeze. This is the one that I planted earlier this year with you guys, and I actually got two bare root of this plant from Walmart earlier this year, and I picked this rose because one, for the cluster of blooms that are so gorgeous, but two, because of the height that it gets. It gets 6 to 8 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. So I thought it would be perfect to have two that can just take over this corner here that I've carved out. It is already has grown so much this year. I've been trying to keep up with it by helping it climb up the trellis. So I've been taking my clips that I got from the dollar store, that I always get every year from the dollar store, and I have been clipping it back to the trellis. We've got areas where it's just kind of, you know, growing outwards, but by the end of the season I'll have clipped all of these to the trellis. But given how fast this plant has grown this year, I have no doubts that, you know, next year it is going to top the trellis and be growing all over the place. So I'll have my work cut out for me keeping it contained, especially having two. At the time, I didn't realize the size component of this rose, but now that I know, I am going to have to keep up on pruning, because at the rate of growth, this is going to be coming all the way out here. It's going to be going all the way that way. It's going to be going over there. So definitely we'll have to keep it pruned, but it is a rebloomer, and it goes down to zone 5. I'm in zone 5B, so this plant is perfect for me. I will definitely mulch the base of it this year just to, you know, ensure that it does survive the winter. The Farmer's Almanac has said that we are going to have a much more wintry winter this year as opposed to last year. So where I live, we get snow, ice, rain, temperatures that drop below 0. And so it is important for me to pick plants that will survive in my zone. And these roses should be fine, but I offer extra protection to them just in case we have those polar vortex type of situations, which sometimes we do have, where it gets like extremely cold for days. So this rose is a fragrant rose, and I do happen to like the smell. Anything that's too perfumey gives me a headache, but this is very gentle. I think it works perfectly right next to the chicken coop, because, you know, chicken coops can have a smell, and you can honestly, you can kind of smell this rose wafting through the air. Certain breezes will blow it your way, and it smells really light. And let me smell it again. Yeah, it's super light, very pretty, very floral, and I definitely think this rose is a keeper if anyone's looking for this rose. I have seen it available online, but I found mine in stores at Walmart. So hopefully, if you're looking for it, you'll be able to locate it online or next spring at your local garden centers. Okay, so my next rose is called Rise Up Amberness, and this is a proven winner's rose that I planted last year in 2022. It's been in the ground for a year, and it has done so wonderful in this space. It's right next to my birdhouse, and there is a trellis here that also contains a clematis that's super beautiful. So once the clematis is in bloom and then this rose is in bloom with this gorgeous color, it's such a beautiful combination. So Rise Up Amberness is a climber. It gets anywhere from 3 to 5 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide. Looks beautiful on a trellis, and we have one part here, one branch that is coming out that I do need to pin back to the trellis, but it is a repeat bloomer. It blooms on new wood in the spring, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This is one of its latest flushes of bloom. So Rise Up Amberness is also a scented rose as well. It's very lightly scented, kind of has a fruity smell to it. It's even though the Perfume Breeze is lightly scented, this is even lighter than that. I do smell it over here while I'm working, but it's nothing that is overpowering and strong. It's a shorter climber, so it's not going to get super tall. If you, oh, I'm sorry, baby. If you have, you know, a smaller space and you've got good lighting, you know, full sun, you definitely can stick this rose in somewhere. It doesn't get as tall or as wide or as crazy as some climbing roses can get. So right here is where I have Rise Up Lilac Days, and I feel really bad because this was blooming a little while ago, and I did not catch any footage or any photos of the bloom. So I will include a photo of what the rose flowers look like on this plant. But this one also needs some staking. It is taller than the Rise Up Amberness. This one gets about 5 to 8 feet tall, and I believe it's 1 to 2 feet wide. I'll put it on the screen if that's not accurate. But this plant, I need to actually move it. I want it more in a forefront spot where it can get a lot more light, and I can, you know, pay more attention to the blooms, because plants that are planted in the back of my beds typically don't get as much attention as they deserve, and they also are kind of out of sight. So this rose, I definitely will move this in the fall, like late fall going into winter probably, to a new spot. Probably in the bed over that way, and I'll show you guys that bed. But this rose, when it is in bloom, is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. It's a repeat bloomer, and it is hardy down to zone 5 as well. So one way that I take care of my roses in the fall is by allowing the leaf fall from the trees to stay in the beds. Leaving leaves in your beds helps insulate your plants. It helps protect them from extreme temperatures. So you can either use, you know, wood chips, leaves, hay, whatever you have available to you to mulch at the base of your plants will help them get through winter if you have the very cold winters like we have here. So I mentioned moving my Rise Up Lilac Days rose to a new bed. This is the bed that I'm talking about. This is my hydrangea and my other rose bed. Those are the anchor plants in this bed, and it spans like all the way down this way. So I think I do have a great spot. So if I do a little bit of pruning this fall, I can definitely put the Rise Up Lilac Days right here, or even down this way. I think it'll be beautiful. I do have some other roses in this bed, so I think that would just be another beautiful addition to this area. No, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. This arbor is leaning. So the last rose that I'm going to share with you guys today is called Lavender Crush, and I planted this in a video with you guys last year, and it grew so fast, and it bloomed continuously throughout the summer, and it has been such a good grower. Earlier this summer, or this spring, we got hit with a major aphid infestation. They were in our trees, they were on everything. So this plant suffered quite a bit. I didn't know what was going to happen with it because it just looked so awful for a long time, but it did bounce back, and it's been blooming continuously. The one thing that I do for my roses in the spring is I use a rose fertilizer. I scratch that in the base around the rose plant, and then it gets watered in with my drip. So that's like the one thing that I always do in the spring. So this year I've been coming by and spraying my roses with a foliar fertilizer. I do that in late evening, because if you spray your plants with something, whether it be a insecticide, whatever, and you spray that during the hot of the day, you can burn the leaves. So if you're going to spray your plants with anything, make sure you spray them in the evening before sundown, and you should be okay. So the Lavender Crush rose can get 8 to 10 feet tall and 3 to 5 feet wide. So it will definitely take over this arbor. It's already almost taller than me, which is not saying much because I'm pretty short. But next year, I'm thinking it will be up of this arbor, which is so exciting. I also have the Lavender Crush rose here, but then I have a clematis on the other side. So I'm hoping that those two will meet and cross over in the middle, and we will have just, you know, blooms all over the place. My clematis blooms early spring, and then it probably slows down around late June, and then the rose is blooming from late spring to summer through probably late fall. So this Lavender Crush rose, I bought it from, where did I get it? Home Depot last year. And one of the things that I was looking for was how tall it would get, because I want a rose that can climb an arbor and just be so prolific and beautiful and gorgeous and just have blooms all over the place. So this plant has done so well for me. It's grown so well. It's in bloom right now, which is super gorgeous. We do have buds on this side, and it just finished blooming on a stem on this other side over here. But the plant is gorgeous. It's filling out so nicely, nice and thick growth going upwards. This rose is hardy down to zone 5. So if you're in zone 5, you could get this plant. I'm in zone 5B. If you're in a zone 4, you might be able to, you know, get away with it with heavy mulch. So just a few more tidbits about how I take care of my roses in general. Many people do different things for their roses, and that's absolutely okay. Do what works best for you. In my garden, I fertilize with a granular in early spring. As soon as I start seeing growth, I'm gonna spread that granular around the base of the plant and work it in with my gloves. The next thing that I do for my roses throughout the season is I fertilize them every 2 to 4-ish weeks whenever I remember. It's not anything that I stress about if I forget to fertilize them. The fertilizer that I use regularly these days is a water-soluble fertilizer, and I put that in my pump sprayer and I spray the foliage down. I don't spray the flowers if it's in bloom, but I spray the foliage down late in the evening after the sun has started to set. You don't want to spray your plants with any sort of fertilizer or pesticide or insecticide during the day in the hot sun, because that can burn the leaves. You also want to be careful with the type of fertilizer you use and how much of it you use. It's best to dilute it down than to have it overly strong, because that also can burn the leaves of your plants. So for me, it's better to err on the side of a weekly fertilizer more often as opposed to a really strong fertilizer whenever I remember. All right, guys, so those are my 4 climbing roses. Let me know what you think about them. Let me know if you have them in your garden, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!